Welcome to Roundhill Radio. Through our conversations, we discover the holy in the ordinary, look for moments of grace and peace, and redefine what we talk about. We talk about faith. Hey, Ed.
Hey, Leslie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic.
Hanging in there.
That's right. Yeah, that means I'm just hanging by my fingernails. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are nearing I've already lost all sense of speech, which is a great sign for the start of a podcast. The finish line. We're nearing the finish line of the sort of year here.
Church year countdown.
That exactly. So we're about to have our sort of big, we're calling it the Sunday Fun Day.
Yes,
it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be such a great Sunday. But I think we all have a little bit of that, like, kids the last week of school.
Yeah, I think
we have some of that energy happening where we're like tired and a little punchy, but excited and happy and all this. Could use vacation.
That's what it's like. You know, there's the Christian year and there's truly the church year. And we're at that point in the church year where we're starting to segue into the summer. So yeah. So in our church year, we are also looking towards, finishing up our What Matters Most series. We talked about that a little bit last week. We have a couple more really exciting themes left, but we, in our infinite planning aheadedness, are looking towards the 2024-2025 sermon series. Yes.
And so why don't you tell the good people of Roundhill Radio where your idea came from and give them a little tease of what's going to happen.
All right. And you're going to give us a little behind the scenes of the master craft work that's been going on in these recent months.
Some designing is happening.
Some designing is happening, right? While your energies are flagging, this is the perfect time to rev up the engines and start something new. So
a project.
Yeah. So we bounced this idea back and forth a little bit. As you said, we're starting a new sermon series, worship series on September the 1st. That will continue for a year. So what in the world were we going to do? So we came up with this idea that if we could choose only 52 stories for our journey of faith, and those are the ones that we would have to take with us, and those are the ones we would have to live with, what would they be? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of an interesting exercise, right? Because we just have to narrow things down, and you're going to leave off some incredible material and characters. They're not going to go into the boat with you, but that's okay because 52 is still a lot of stories. And I guess this idea did come from a memory of reading a book by Alfred Lansing called Endurance, in which he describes the ill-fated voyage of the Endurance ship that was sailed by Sir Ernest Shackleton and 29 crew members just before the First World War, with the goal of getting to Antarctica and then being the first people to walk across Antarctica. Someone had already reached the South Pole. Shackleton had to find some way to do something even better and even bigger. But no sooner did they get down there when the whole thing just came to a screeching halt because the ice through which the ship had been sailing suddenly became so deep they couldn't travel through it. And then the ship became completely stuck in the ice, and the ice ground it. This ship, by the way, was made out of incredibly durable wood, and yet the ice literally ground it into splinters. And so the poor crew, and Shackleton had to get the lifeboats off the boat so they could figure out how are they going to try to get back home, but now only with lifeboats. And they tried to take anything they could find off the ship that they could fit into the lifeboats. They did. Well, they wanted to take the ship's Bible, which was probably a ginormous version of the Bible, and it had an inscription from the Queen inside it. So it was a pretty amazing, edition of the Bible. Well, they ultimately decided no way they were going to fit that into lifeboat along with everything else. So Shackleton ripped out a few pages. He grabbed the 23rd Psalm. He grabbed, of all things, he chose a section from the book of Job, like the sufferers, pinnacle of suffering, because it had references to snow and ice as if they needed to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of where they were. But anyway, those were the ones they took with them. They just a very, very small section. So what if we can only take 52 for our journey? So we have already introduced this idea to our online listeners and observers, to our online service of worship. We introduced it to the congregation. I would say we have well over 15 suggestions so far, which is wonderful. People have chosen their stories. There's a little bit of overlap there, but also some very different kinds of choices, which is exciting. We've got our choices in the mix. We'd love to have even more suggestions. I mean, the more we have, the better. We're still choosing. Yeah. And now I need to turn it back over to you, because that's all well and good. But, the delivery system for this idea is the key thing. And that's where you really picked this up and took it to a new level. So what do we got? What do we got for us?
We have so many things. So first I'll say, if you are listening and you're thinking, oh, I know what Bible story or what scripture verse they should include, something that's given me hope and encouragement, or it's really stuck with me in hard times or good times or all of the above, you guys can just send me an email, leslie@roundhillcommunitychurch.org, and just send it straight to me. Just quick email, just like put the verse title or even just the name of the story. Just shoot it off to me, or you can always leave it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave it in the comment section below. So we'll get that covered.
Great.
And then we had been contemplating a book project, and we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. We kind of got the print urge out because we have now the Round Hill Community Church magazine, which comes out quarterly. But we still had this idea of creating a book, which is the idea of creating something tangible for community members. And I use the word community members in the broadest sense of anybody who wants it, gets it, something to have, to hold, to keep with them that adds to their experience during the week, so that your experience of faith, your experience with us is not Sunday only, which is why we love doing the podcast, because we get to spend a weekday with you. So this was kind of all in the spirit of I want to do a book, which obviously I am not the writer in this team. So I realized
there's a writer?
But I'm like, I want to do a book. And then I stare pointedly across the table at Ed and go, what do you want to do? So we had this idea. And you go, it's a true story. So we had this idea, and I've been working on this kind of for a while, and it really kind of came into clarity today. I had first started with, creating a small booklet that would have each of the 52 stories, and then maybe some thoughtful questions that might elicit thoughts in your minds, frankly. And then we had some amazing feedback from a member of the community suggesting that maybe some space for journaling or even writing down answers to the questions or whatnot might be useful. Love that idea. So now each week is going to get a 2-page spread. And I was originally toying with the idea of it being kind of organized around the seasons, and that each season would have its own color scheme. And I decided that kind of arbitrarily. I was like, I need a way to organize this for myself. And that seemed like a nice and tidy way. But the more we talked about it, you had used this language, Ed, on the online worship service that says, I invite you on a journey, is what you said. And we had been trying to figure out what to call this thing. We'd been toying around with a bunch of different stuff, because I've been thinking about how it's it's essentials. It's like, what's the essentials? Like, it's like you're packing for a trip. What are your essentials? And then, you know, the Brits have this desert island discs radio thing where celebrities come on and what's their absolute like favorite music that they would, if they had to grab CDs. Here's now a retro reference to CDs. What would those be, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of idea of like, if you could narrow it down. So then it has become this kind of almost passport book. I really lean into this journey, giving it kind of a vintage vibe because I am me. And as was established a number of years ago, I am apparently a nostalgic millennial.
Yes, you are.
So says the typewriter in my office. So I kind of just leaned into that idea of, you know, it's like this old fashioned. Do you know what I love? In Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, you know that leather bound notebook?
Yes.
That was the father's and then becomes Indy's, and it's like this worn thing with all the notes and all the drawings, and like that's kind of what I hope this will become for people, because they just can tuck ideas in, you can write notes, you can write thoughts, just kind of hangs out with you in your bag and your briefcase. So all those ideas are kind of melding into this book, which is going to be called 52 for the Journey.
Love it.
A guidebook and journal. So it's that idea of like a guidebook, right? When you go traveling, you have a guidebook to Amsterdam, a guidebook to Venice, a guidebook to Rome.
Right.
And this is your guidebook through 52 stories selected by the community, by Ed, and then some questions to get you thinking, and some space to just write your thoughts for the week. So
sounds magnificent.
I'm excited. I'm excited. This is going to be, I hope it is useful. I hope it provides, you know, value and benefits to our members. I'm right in the middle also, I should say, of taking a digital marketing class. And so my brain's all like ROI, benefits, features. So these two ideas are a little bit warring in my mind, but creating something useful and meaningful is definitely our main goal for this. That it gives you something that you can experience. That it's not a pressureful thing for you to do. That it really is like you can once a week sit down, maybe in the morning with a cup of coffee. I like to do these sort of things in the morning, and just like read the passage. Most of these passages are like 2 to 10 verses long, and just like think about them. Maybe they hit something with you. Maybe they don't.
Sure.
That's fine too. And answer questions or don't answer questions. It's very like open-ended, and I hope it is guiding for those who wish to have a guide and a helpful hand. And then it's also free enough for people who just want to like have space to write for themselves or draw a picture. I'm trying to decide right now between lines or there's a big thing in journaling and in what's it called, like planners of a dot grid.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I'm trying to decide between the two. You guys, if you guys have a preference, now's the time to let me know.
That's great. A great question. Yes, listeners, help us.
Dot grid or line. And college rule or whatever the bigger one is. I don't remember what that's called.
The one we used in third grade.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So let me know if you have thoughts. I certainly have thoughts, but Lord knows I'm not in the majority with many of these things. So.
Well, we've sensed that you have really enjoyed doing this, that this has been,
it's been really fun.
Fun and meaningful. What a great combination.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really fun. There's going to be like little passport stamps, you know, peppered through as vector art. And I think it's going to have a sort of a whimsical quality that's going to not take itself too seriously, which I think is always a fun thing to bring to it. And we're planning, don't hold me to it, but we're planning on doing a kids version as well, which I believe the main difference will be that the questions will be focused to our younger community members, so that the scriptures will all be the same version, same everything. But the questions will be written by our director of children's ministries, really for our younger people to get them thinking so they can do it. You could do it as a family if you want.
Right. What a great idea. Yeah, I'm just picturing, even if people are traveling, if one of the parents is traveling for work, this could be a thing that they all decide to do together, check in a little bit.
That's nice. Yeah.
I think that would be such a great way of sharing an opportunity for spiritual growth. It's many possibilities to it.
And I like, for our first sort of book project that goes with a worship series, and I like that you used the term worship series. I've been using sermon series. I like that because I think worship, it expresses what we do, right? We don't limit a theme to just, we were talking about how much we don't like the word just, but just the sermon.
Correct.
It's not only the sermon, it is also our hymns and our scriptures, and obviously there's so much in the whole worship series. So
much fuller.
Yeah. And I think the thing about this first book project is that we kept it really sort of a spread, which is 2 pages facing per week. We could have blown it out to something every day, but I think keeping it reasonable in terms of scale for us, but also like reasonable for you guys so that you're not like, oh, I missed a day. There's 365 of them, know, but it's really, there's 52, which is like it feels like an achievable number.
Yes. It's a little more forgiving, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to tell if you do it on Saturday night or if you do it the next week. Like, who cares? But I like that the scale of it feels approachable and doable for like even the busiest people,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been exciting for us to do it, and just so beautiful to see the various versions that you've been working through. So
I'm going to save the other one, the seasonal one, and just in case in a couple years you're like, I want to do something based on the seasons.
Yes, please do.
I will be ready.
Don't let it go. Wow. Can't wait to get it started.
It's really exciting. So those will be available for sure by September 1st. Right. That much I can guarantee. We're working on the schedule. But I very much hope that you will grab yourself a copy. We will have more details on how to get your own copy. We will for sure have them available in the church building. But for those who are not local, we will let you know once we figure it out, because there's a couple of different ways we could do it, and we want to make it the easiest for you. So
sounds
figure
great.
that out.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Leslie, for all the amazing work you've put into this.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Genuinely so.
Onward.
Onward. All right. Well, thank you all. And we're excited to share this with you. Round Hill Radio is brought to you by the friends and members of Round Hill Community Church. For more information, please visit roundhillradio.org.
If you enjoyed this podcast, there are a few things that you can do that would make a big difference to us. Like the video, subscribe if you aren't, and click the notification bell and select all. Thank you.